Hello and welcome to my new video. Today I will make the continuation of the previous video. Last one I actually make a lot of talks and some of them was mostly messy, and today I will keep it a little bit more short, more manageable, easy to maintain. And I also removed a lot of friction from my videos in terms of how I shoot them. So I bought the special adapter for the camera. Now I kind of have an infinite power for the Fujifilm, and it's basically USB-C connected to the power bank, and now I can shoot without additional stress, which involved shooting videos like this, because I really like to shoot the videos and at the same time make prints. It's not all the time easy, so keep it in mind. It takes a little bit more process time to do both. And now I want to continue from exactly the same point. I will load exactly the same negative in a carrier, and I will start with a test print with exactly the same settings. And the last time it was a problem with the yellow, so I remember that. And this is why I kept on my enlarger exactly the same settings. So now I will add a little bit of filtration on the yellow and make additional test prints, and I still have a test print on my table. As you can see from my previous test prints, I honestly have not enough exposure, and in the same time on this print I have too much yellow. So my t-shirt is actually yellow, and additionally my shirt here is also yellow, and the grass is yellow. It doesn't look green at all on any exposure. So this one I will fix just with the adding filtration. So we'll basically remove yellow color from the picture. So I will add 10 points because it looks a little bit severe. So I will use the same settings as before and make grid from the 3 seconds. So it's a 3 seconds, 6 seconds, 9 seconds. So I need something around 9 to 10 seconds, and I will print the whole strip, but I will make the changes in the yellow. So I will make a test print with the yellow gauge. So to make this test, I will choose the 10-second exposure because it's somewhere in between of these two, and in the same time what I will do, I will make the yellow change, and I will start with the normal one, and I will increase yellow up to the basically infinite points, so by 5 steps, and from there we'll get the final result of our exposure. And I want to point out that the smartwatches have LEDs on the backside. And this LED is a green LED, and it's crazy sensitive for the paper. So if you keep it on you, sometimes it can leak from your hand and you will get a light leaks on the paper. Don't do it with a changing back, especially with your film, but keep it in mind, it can be one of the source of the unpredictable film exposures or paper leaks. I started in the dark, so I blindfolded my window, and now I will turn on my safe light for A4 paper. I have settings of f11 on the paper with a distance for my normal shot. Honestly, huge downside at the moment that everybody using LEDs, especially in the power banks inside. So everybody is abusing the LED technology, and for the darkroom it's not safe because I can see I have a blue light through the power bank, even if the power bank is actually just charging, and I see the small LED light through the box. I think it's not a problem because I have it in an additional case which I printed on top, but in the same time it's a problem. So it's a lot of lights inside every device, and in the same time it's a blue light, and the paper is actually crazy sensitive to the blue light. So every speck of the blue light will ruin the whole picture for you. Just keep it in mind and be patient, and sometimes you just need to limit some stuff or tape out some stuff. So not all the things works perfectly fine. So I found the negative which I want to print, and I will load it again, and I actually need to think about the marking system to just mark which negative I printed, because now I'm using the transparent sleeves. I think it's much easier to actually mark and do some, for example, stickers and some additional things on top of the negatives if I want to show something here, because it's just easier to recognize if you print something or not, and especially in the tight spaces like I have. So I don't really have additional space where I can put the book, which is also downside. I want something which I can, slide the book or put the book on a shelf, but unfortunately lower shelves, they occupy it with some things like chemicals and so on, and I also didn't really like the idea of the small shelves here. It's much better to have a shelf somewhere on top when I can just close it and put it on the shelves, but let's see. So last time when I loaded, it was a problem with the Newton rings, but I think it's fine. So I cleaned it up, and now the carrier is kind of a clean. I can re-clean it again, at least from the specks of dust, which I collect over time here. And my cat actually really like my darkroom because it's quite clean, and in the same time you can just hide out here, and it helps to cats to relax. So it's a downside because he's quite furry red cat, and cat hair not a good combination with anything related to the film, as you probably know. And at the moment I actually see this severe problem with the Newton rings again. I don't know why, but I will try to solve it with the just simple wipe on top of the negative carrier. It should actually help, but this is definitely a problem. So it creates the friction. Everybody suggests different things. I'm thinking that I can order special inserts to make the film straight here and to just block out the frame. It's quite easy to make. I can order it from the different materials, and it can be like even aluminum or something, and they will be like forever inserts for the film. And I think this is a really good idea for this carrier, but in the same time, for some reason I really like the glass. This whole idea looks good, keeps the negative flat. I'm not sure if it's perfect, and you need the perfect flatness for that. I'm not sure, because in general you have a depth of field, but for the negative it's quite important to keep it flat, but nothing is perfect. So usually if you cannot remove the Newton rings, dry shampoo is a good idea. So you can just spray on a glass from the far distance one small spray of the dry shampoo, and it's actually solving the problem, because you will create a small specks of dust on top of the glass. But do not overdo it, otherwise you will ruin the film, and otherwise you will ruin your carrier. And autofocus doesn't work in the darkness, unfortunately, but this is my frame, so I blocked additional light from the sides with the special metal gates, and this is my picture, how it looks like. And I will make tests on this picture with my test printer, and once again I will just use the normal slit and put all frames with the decreasing filter. So I will put the 10 seconds. So I will start the 10-second timer with the opened first door, and after 10 seconds is done, I will roll down the filter by 5 points, open up the next one, start again, and that's it. This is the whole process how to make this test print. So I'm done with my first exposures, and now I will check the bath if temperature is okay, and if it's fine and 35 degrees, I will start printing from there. I load the paper inside, and my temperature is actually fine. I will recheck it with the thermometer, but because I set up everything last time, it actually should be fine. But unfortunately it's not. So physically my temperature is 32 degrees, and this is causing me a little bit of problem actually, and the problem with the temperature at the moment that I set it up to 36 degrees, but in the same time it's not 35 degrees and not 36 degrees, it's actually 32 degrees. And the problem is this thermocouple. It unfortunately, as you can see here, it's get rusty, and it's just changing the whole parameters of the thermocouple. So it's not chemical resistant, and I just want to order one which is plastic, which can survive the chemicals. And I think for a long period of time I just need to find a different solution, but overall I think this is really bad for the purpose what I want to make, the precision temperature control. So just simple circulator is much cheaper, much easier to use, and doesn't create any problem. So I'm thinking that the Yoba system in principle, I cannot recommend it anymore. So it creates so much resistance in printing that it's literally like too much. It's not manageable anymore. So I have history with the enlargers. So I, as you remember, have a review of the Intrepid enlarger. And the problem with this thing, I still don't use it at all. So it's really bad. It's a bad product for the color Darkroom. Unfortunately, I cannot normally use it. I cannot use the filtration. I don't really like that it has light leaks. It's a lot of problems with the system. And in the same time, I'm feeling that I will have more or less the same problem with the different rotation systems. I know the one German guy who make the analog of the, simple development box with the motor, but in the same time, I think the whole kit with the suite will cost around 700, 800 euros, something like this. I'm not sure if I want to invest this money in this thing. So if somebody want to send it to me, I'm always open. Just hit me in the email. I can gladly review it. And if it's good, I will use it in my videos basically for the rest of the channel. Just keep it in mind, the whole thing about the new tools, they not all the time is better than the old ones. And sometimes you just need to make the additional steps to make the old tools work fine. For example, I'm just thinking that making the circulation and make a temperature control, it's already known process. It just requires some money. So in reality, you can buy standalone temperature control up and down, so cooling and heating circulator, industrial one, which is like for the small labs. It costs around 1,000 euros downsides, but it has a precision of the 1/100th of the degree. So basically, if you circulate it in a bath or in a small volume of the liquid inside or around your bottles, you will get a crazy precise temperature with the external thermocouple. So this is a really good thing. I think this is ideal state. We're not there. We will probably never will, but I think for now it's totally fine to continue with hobby and not optimizing crazily fast things. I'm thinking I will just optimize for enjoyment. I will just take some friction from the process and I will try to remove it completely. So one of the frictions what I have at the moment is exactly that. I'm not sure if I like the whole approach of the Yobo heating and the temperature control. So to fix that, for now, I will try the Cinesteel stick with the heating. It's noisy. I don't like the product itself. I'm not endorsing the Cinesteel. I know the guys. I saw them in person in Copenhagen, but unfortunately, old version of the product what I have, it's a little bit bad. It's a bad Chinese-made product. It's low quality. And I cannot disassemble it and fix it in the same time. So it has a downside. But let's try to actually put it in use and set it up for 35 degrees and see what will happen with the temperature. So the tool what I'm referring to is this one. It's quite old. I have it from the first days what I'm actually in a darkroom. I bought it, I think in 2017, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, it still works. I use it rarely at the moment, but most of my color film was developed with the stick in a normal bath with the Patterson tank and top rotation of the single film in a drum. It was perfect times where you don't need like expensive equipment and you just develop the film because you like it. Nowadays, it's a little bit more complicated because I have more insights. What is actually stability? How to get the perfect colors, and if you first time in your life see the perfect colors getting from the C41 chemistry on your film and scan it, you even never go back to the lab, and the lab printing, scanning process, just forget about it. After you will get your thick, overexposed, properly developed, or even chemically overdeveloped film, and you scan it for the first time in your life, you will never go back to the film labs. Trust me, because it's mostly at the moment industrial process. They need to keep the costs down, because the whole thing with the labs, it's not profitable, guys. And yeah, let's try to set it up and turn it on to 35 degrees and see how it will work. So to keep it going, I need to put it in the power, and I'm thinking I will just plug it in here directly. And the downside, if I use all the 4 solutions, I don't really have a space, so I need some kind of a modification of the bath itself. So what the point to have a bath if you cannot use it with the normal conditions? So this is a really good point, and we will discuss the options, what I can do, probably in later videos. And this is really good point, because this thing overall, the wet part, create a lot of friction in the process. And as you can hear, the main problem with the whole setup, it's noisy, and the fan inside is basically dead already for 10 billion years. But over time it gets quiet, so it should be fine. Just let's try to do something with the noise. So after some time it's getting a little bit more quiet, but you can hear it's hard to talk in a room while this thing is working. Additional problem, it's not darkroom safe. So I was before plugging this thing dark, but it also doesn't really help. So overall it's quite problematic thing, and I don't like it. I don't like to use it. So maybe I can buy something cheap in China, you know, to just replace this one. But the whole process is literally terrible. So do not advise, at least buying this particular model. It's really bad. Just buy cheap Chinese one. And I think it will be much better, especially you can just replace it. If you find something for whatever, 50 euros or something like this, just buy it and do not waste your time on that. So let's start development, and it's 45 seconds development of the paper. If I can start it. Okay, I don't like this thing at all. Let's turn it off and remove it, because yeah, just it's junk. I don't want to use it anymore. So 45 seconds is done. And now bleach fix. I'm just thinking how cool it will be if you have a test printer which producing strips, and in the same time you have a tool with a small amount of chemical like this, which you just passing the paper on, and it's actually developing the paper for your test strips. It's not hard project, and it's just manageable. I'm just thinking I can make it for myself, because sometimes I want to make a lot of test prints to dial my colors, to just basically print the strips. And I'm thinking about it, and later I can scale it up and make a paper printing machine which is new and nobody have it on the market. I'm not sure if anyone need it, but it's quite nice. So let's make a final rinse. And that's it. So the idea of automatic roll-to-roll development of the or small strips or bigger paper, which is just scale up of exactly the same process, circulating in my hand for long period of time. And Only one thing which is stopping me from the development, it's time and money. These two things kind of interesting because I cannot say it requires huge amount of time and I have a knowledge to doing that, and in the same time I don't think it requires a lot of money. And in general I need this process myself, as you can see, because it will save a lot of time for the tests. If you want to make the big print, you can make a big print in a drum. And making the huge print in a drum, this is not a big problem, and you will basically have the same colors, but to just automate your printing, it will be quite nice, and especially if you don't make mistakes. Because at the moment, as you can see, I made a mistake of not closing the aperture down after I shoot the video. This is one of the downsides of being YouTuber, because you're getting sloppy and some of the things they not automatic. And I don't really have on this lens for 35mm, I don't have this option with the two stops which you can rotate and flip it and it will stop on f11. This is a huge downside of this lens, and I have actually on the Rodenstock I have this feature, and on the Schneider I don't have. And this is a huge problem, but let's reprint it and let's check the result, what we have. But unfortunately we know that you can overexpose the paper and the paper can be totally black, almost with some things, and totally white. So it means our chemistry works perfectly fine without any problems. And now I will make a steps backwards. So now the setting is for yellow for 45, and I will go with the steps up. So off camera I make the test print with the normal exposure for 10 seconds, but unfortunately, as you can see, it's too yellow. And I forget the normal rule that if you want to decrease yellow, you need to increase the filtration. So now I will print the same thing, but from 70 up. So this was on 70 down. And I can see on 70 is actually fine, but I need a little bit more to make my face and the grass less yellow. And in the same time I see it's not enough exposure, so I bump it up 5 seconds and make this next test print. Honestly guys, sometimes I'm thinking how I made that 3 videos per week with extremely higher quality than what I'm delivering to you at the moment. But it was a long time ago, so I think at the moment I have less motivation to just shoot it. But in any case, I will just continue, and at some point I will stop. And the rule for this channel at the moment, if it brings me fun and joy, I'm doing it. If it's not, I'm stopping. So sorry if there's sometimes videos a little bit boring for you, but probably this is how it will go from now on. You will probably not see any more, you know, fast cut and simple animations and stuff like that, because it just drains me out a little bit and it creates a lot of additional work which I'm not getting paid off, and in the same time I am not getting fun from it. This is one of the reasons why I stopped doing that, and this is one of the reasons why we actually shooting it like this, and this is one of the reasons why I get back to just rejoin with my hobby, because I really like the printing, I really like the photos, I really like the film and analog process in general. So you all know that I'm crazy passionate about that, and sometimes you just need to reconnect with the core of your passion and do not think about the problems surrounding the passion. Because as we talked in a previous crazy long video, sometimes you're creating so much structure around your passion and you don't really have a boot up sequence, how to unload it, how to make it easy. And I think you just need to reconnect with the simple joy of getting the picture from the same photons which hit your film back in the day and you can transfer this thing on paper without any digital interruption. And this is one of the things which I like about Darkroom. It's just pure magic. Some thing from the sky, from the sun, hit the silver, make a chemical reaction. You process with a chemical reaction, and with additional chemical reaction, you just create the some picture with extremely high quality on paper, which is a physical object. And the whole thing about, I think, the analog photography in general, for me at least, that it's creating this thing called physical object. So let's see what we get as a result of our endeavors. And yes, we definitely on the right path. Yes. So as you can see here, I make a steps, and this is 70, 75, 80, 85, 90, and 95. And I'm not sure if you can clearly see it on the camera, but I think something like that with a little bit less exposure will be our final guess for the colors. Because what I can see by eye, around 90, maybe even exposure is fine. Maybe I need to just cut off a little bit, like 2 seconds, and it will be perfect. What do you think? I'm thinking something in between of that, but I don't really like the color here because it's definitely too violet, and it's like magenta color is here. And this one is almost perfect, but I remember it was a sunset and it should be yellow. And this is a really good example why you need to make a test print, because with the test prints like that and like that, you definitely can go a long mile and you can just make a test. And just for your reference, this is where we started. We started from something strange and obscure. We moved to something which is make more sense, and we finalize here. So we finalize somewhere there, and in the same time, now I'm ready to make the final test print. And the final test print, what I mean by that, I will print full-size paper, and I will hope it's not like leaked and it works. And for array 4, this is the amazing part, that the paper is have crazy long period of time of storage if you store it correctly in a just normal room somewhere in a drawer. And at the same time, chemistry is basically infinite as far as I understand, because it was hot, it was cold, it was whatever happens in my room here, and it's still alive and it can produce perfect color prints without any additional problems, which is great. Important part before you make the final print, to clean up the water from the drum. Because if one drop gets to your dry paper, it's actually slowing down your developer, because it's locally diluting your developer. And in this point, you cannot do anything. You will get the strange color at this point. So, or pre-wet the paper and develop the thing accordingly, or make the dry drums. It's quite easy. It's not a problem. I cannot see any reasons why you should not, because it's few wipes with a dry tissue and it's perfectly fine. It should not be like 100%, 100% dry, but it should be no big drops which can actually go, especially from the lid here. So I usually shake it like this several times, and the drops from inside, they just fall down, and you additionally can unscrew the cap. And it's just the precautions, because sometimes you just don't want to reprint multiple times, even if you make mistakes. So just be a little bit more patient about the process. I will put the big paper and make prints. I will refocus my frame and use a paper as a base to get everything perfect. I'm not sure if this shot in general sharp, because I think it was on f2 and it was not my hands. So you can imagine it's not perfect all the time. But anyway, I will refocus and make sure that I have everything correct. So I made the exposure of camera, and second time I actually forget to put the aperture from the focusing aperture of the full open, and then this lens is 2.8 to f11, so I ruined the sheet of paper. But honestly, nowadays I don't really care about the paper because I'm not finished the first roll, and I have two rolls of the Fuji Supreme paper. I think it will last forever. You just buy it once and use it forever. It's a really good investment, and I think over the time I will not consume all, and I definitely need to fix my storage of the test prints. And now idea of automatic test printer kind of a crystallize, because it will help a lot of people and also will help me to start. And I think this size of the test print quite perfect for this application, and maybe it's fine. It's maybe fine to get started with something like that. Not sure. It's just wondering and talking to you, and it's really good ideas before you start implementing them and before you start moving with them. But I honestly have quite high interest in the developing the system which can transfer stuff. To transfer film, to transfer paper, basically transfer the material with the rolls, and in the same time I want something crazy small, smaller than the coffee machine, which can develop film, paper and stuff like that. This one of my magic ideas which I honestly keeping in mind, and maybe one day I will just drop the dice and do something like this and just devote all of my time to developing something like this for the industry. Not sure. It should be some pivotal moment in my career to do some stuff like that. And in addition, this project motivates me to combine all of the features which I have as a person. So I really like art, I like the technology, I like the engineering, and I like the business part. And be kind of a part of the business or self-employed, it's much better to work in a big corporations, especially for the artistic person as me, and probably most of you who are actually watching this channel and doing this type of things as a side hustle. So my development is done. Next step is the bleach fix. And remember guys, even for the big paper, you don't need a lot of chemicals. You just need a small amount of chemicals and it will be enough to finish your process. It just should cover the full paper and make it wet for your required period of time. And after that, everything is done, everything is finished. You don't need any additional process, and it should be fine for future to have a print in storage if you wash it correctly. For the final rinse, I'm using 2 rinses, 3 rinses. It depends if I have a good result. Usually I have, so I usually just rinse it twice and just dry it up in air and store it like that. And this is my final print result. So I have 10 seconds before I will finish my bleach fix. After that, I will just rinse it with a DI water, and in my case it's a filtered water. I prefer to use a distillate water, but unfortunately I don't have a distillator, and for some reason, oops, I make mistakes again. I almost dumped all of my chemicals in the recycle bottle and not in a bottle of chemicals. And this is what happens if I talk to the camera too much. And what I like about this type of shooting, that we already talk to each other, so I don't need to make additional wording on top of the videos. It's a little bit annoying that I need to talk and explain stuff in the same time. I'm not really a big fan of this process, but I think I just need to learn this new behavior and new process. I took it as a part of the self-development because sometimes I need to teach people, and if I teach people on the matters which I already know, it's easy. But if I'm co-working with someone, I can be quiet for the long period of time, and my process not flowing outwards. So I need to put it on paper, or I need to think alone. And sometimes I'm thinking it's okay, but most of the time it's better to change your behavior and do it openly and just speak more freely about your process. Now I washed it twice, and we will see result of my development now. I hope it's a good piece of paper, and also I hope I don't create a lot of mistakes with the exposure. And the moment of truth. I have relatively good exposure, guys. Unfortunately, piece of paper not perfect, but I have really good result. My progress for today, this picture, and I really like the whole step-by-step approach what I take at the moment in the darkroom. As you can see, I have 2 test prints, and you can literally compare results between the first steps and the second steps. I think at the moment picture a little bit, just small amount too dark, and in the same time it's reddish. So 2 steps what I will make the next time. I will try to filtrate more cyan channel, which we're filtrating with the moving both filters up, or additionally filtrating cyan. Nope. But I think I will just move cyan a little bit higher, and I will see if it will help improving overall color balance on this picture. I'm just thinking I have overall shift on the film because it was developed in a different day, different time. It's actually honestly also a different film. I don't remember which one, but I think it's a Kodak 200, but it's packed as a Fuji, and it's producing different result as expected from the overall process of the development, printing. It's a different chemistry, different temperature between the things, old chemicals. So you have a lot of variables, but you can control them. You can definitely fix some results. And in the next video, I hope I will buy the lab book to store all of these test prints and write down the parameters, because at the moment I'm doing it sloppy and it's really bad for the learning curve. So keep it in mind. Learn in a darkroom, not only print and produce the things. You need to close up the feedback loop to make the things better every time. So once again, this is a really good video. I hope you really like the result, what I'm getting so far, and we will improve in the next video. So thank you for watching. I want to make few small announcements to the end of the video. I will reform the subscription on the YouTube, and if you subscribe for the or YouTube support or the coffee support, I will try to do something meaningful. And it means I will create the small chat community type of thing inside the coffee, where you will get everything for free inside the community, but everything is outside of the community. If you're not a member of the community, it will be basically unavailable, I think. And the price for the community itself will be relatively cheap. It will be basically whatever coffee price what I have here in the Copenhagen. So if you want to buy me a coffee, it will literally mean you buying me the coffee. And this is one of the points what I want to make, that I want to structure it a little bit to be useful for you and for me. Because most of the people, they just want a part of the 3D prints, they just want to additional updates. They want to know where to buy things, they want to answer some questions, and I think I will just channel it down to the one main source, and I will collect some answers to the questions, how-tos, instructions, manuals, this type of things in one place where you can get the access to that. It will be a little bit knowledge base of the film photography and the color photography in the darkroom, all the conversations, which type of things I can suggest as the author of this channel. So I will try to build a community shortly. So thank you for watching, and this is like small announcement. I'm still not sure what exactly I will do, but I will do something. So expect it. If you actually subscribe and support my channel financially, I really appreciate it. This is amazing support. I still don't believe this is actually happening, but I will try to improve in this direction also. Thank you for watching. That's it for today, and see you next time.